Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of my fairy series, Fairycember. This one is number 5 and I will be drawing an ice fairy. So I'm first starting out the sketch by drawing this in Procreate. I'm using my iPad Pro with my Apple Pencil and using the app Procreate to do the sketches. It's a lot of fun to do that. I feel like it's really free to sketch digitally. I'm starting to really like it compared to sketching traditionally because of the fact that I can change the proportions if I make a mistake really easily and I can erase easily. It's just been really useful, really useful, especially since I started to notice a bit of a bad habit that I'm gonna confess right now. I don't know if it's like I'm picking up on the way other people draw subconsciously, and if it is that, I hate that. But I've just been drawing the upper body of my characters too small recently. I think probably in the last year I started to notice it cropping up and I'm not a fan of it. I hate that this is happening. I don't want this to be my new style kind of thing. I don't want my style to change that way. It's more of a mistake that I keep making. So it's really nice to be able to notice it and Procreate and like adjust, like make the body part a bit bigger. A lot easier than you would if you're doing it traditionally. Sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, there are times that I've done something traditionally, I'm sketching and everything else looks good, so I just like ignore the mistake and keep going. But that's the one good thing about traditional or digital, sorry, I'm getting confused, is that I can adjust it. So yeah, anyway, after I finish the sketch, I print out the sketch onto some printer paper and I use my light pad to transfer it onto marker paper. Then I line the drawing with my Copic multi-liners and I start the coloring with my Copic sketch markers. And if you want a list of all of the other things that I use to create this artwork, then definitely check out the video description below. Everything is listed there, and if it's not, then definitely, feel free to ask me a question. That's totally fine. So when it comes to the colors for this drawing, I wanted them to be the same as the snowflake fairy, because in my head I kind of thought like the snowflake fairy and the ice fairy were probably kind of related, if not like the same person that just like was slightly different. I don't know. You can kind of think of it anyway, but I just wanted them to be really similar because they're both like kind of surrounded around the idea of snow. Maybe there would be a snow fairy as well, but I'm not sure. I just kind of went for snowflake because I had this idea in my head that she would be like a cute young kid, so I thought snowflake would be cuter than snow. And ice fairy, I mean, ice is a very different thing, but it's kind of associated, and I wanted the ice fairy to be an evil queen type character. Because, I mean, ice is elegant, it's beautiful, just like an evil queen would be, but it's also horrible and I hate it. Just like you're supposed to feel when it comes to evil queens as well, like the things they do. But I actually love the evil queen aesthetic. I wanted that to be the kind of thing I was going for here. And I really hate ice. I really hate it a lot. As someone who grew up in a 4-season, weather, when it came time for winter, I think like you always say that you kind of hate snow and you dread when there's a big snow, but for me, when it comes down to it, it's not the snow that I hate, because snow is usually pretty easy to shovel and get out of the way. It's the ice that could happen later. That's the problem. It's the ice on the roads. It's like if the snow melts and then turns to ice and everything becomes slippery and you have to put salt everywhere and you have to scrape the ice off your car before you go to work. I hate ice. It's the worst. And when I was in middle school, I actually fell on some ice and I broke my arm. Not fun. I do not like ice, so I definitely wanted to depict ice as an evil person for sure. But otherwise I had a lot of fun with this drawing, and I thought the little elements of the ice that I added to it was really fun too. Towards the end of the drawing, I wanted to make it look like there was ice coming up the bottom of her dress. And I thought that was kind of fun. I tried to do my best with that, and I put a little bit of highlights with my white gel pen at the end, which I think really like brought it together. I kind of wanted to make it look like there was ice coming up her, like encapsulating, is that the word? Like encasing her, I guess, a bit, but also she controls the ice, so she's fine. And I also made the tips of her hands blue, so it kind of showed like the ice coming out of her hands or something like that. And I also gave her blue blushing on her face because I thought that would look really cool, and it's still it adds a little bit more of an icy feature as well. I also brought in a lot more of the purple that I had experimented with the snowflake fairy to make it look even more icy, like icy white hair. And I wanted the icy white hair for this character as well, but I wanted to bring in more of that throughout the rest of the drawing too. So I added it to the tips of her wings just to make it look even more like icy and something a little bit different to the drawing, except for the blue on blue. I felt like the blue on blue was a little bit more severe in this drawing than it was with the Snowflake Fairy, probably because she has less details to her outfit. The outfit's more about her body shape than it is about the color, and the Snowflake Fairy had a lot more white added into her coloring, so I definitely want to bring in a little bit more purple hints here or there just to kind of like make everything look a little bit different. And the only spot that I regret when it comes to this drawing is the main part of her dress, because I wanted the colors to be the same as the Snowflake Fairy, but I ended up picking up the wrong blue. Before I started, I decided to just test out a bunch of different blues to make sure that I was using the ones that I think would work the best. And I considered going with a completely different blue. I believe the blue I used for the Snowflake Fairy's dress was like B04, but I wanted to test out B12. And then I laid all the blues to one side and I started coloring, and I totally picked up B12 and I started filling out her dress. And the B12 is like a much more like softer color compared to the B04, which is a lot more vibrant. So I ended up messing up because I completely had colored it in and it was a little bit dry, so it made it a little streaky, and I never fully got rid of that streakiness. Sometimes it can happen with markers, but I kind of hate when that happens. I did go over it with a little bit of color pencil just to kind of smooth it out, and it did help a little bit. And otherwise I put a lot of little embellishments here or there by, you know, adding the white back in to add sparkles onto her wings and also into her hair, and the little like ruffle things, like fur things on the side. So yeah, I really had a lot of fun with her though. I really like how this one came out, and I love how Snowflake Fairy came out, and I think they work really good together. So yeah, I really hope you guys like this one. If you did, don't forget to leave a comment down below to let me know and give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I also want to give a big shout out and thank you to my berries over on Patreon for supporting me and making these videos happen. And if you want to join us on Patreon and become one of our berries in the berry army, then definitely check out the link in the video description below. There's a lot of really cool stuff on Patreon, so definitely check it out. And yeah, the next video will be up in the next couple days, so definitely check back. And I really hope you like this one. I hope you like the series, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.